On today's show, Luka Doncic is having an incredible stretch to his career, but is it the best stretch we've seen from him, the best start to his career? Talk about that, and why can't the Mavericks beat good teams? Talk about that and more in today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen today, where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, leave a 5-star review, like the video, and comment anything below. Let me know in the comment section, is this the best start to Luka's career so far in his career? Let me know. I'm curious what you guys have to say about that. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. On the show today, why can't the Mavericks beat good teams? They've gotten a bunch of, they've lost 10 times. One of them is a real bad loss to Memphis. One of them is like a matchup loss, Toronto. They're like not a good team, but a bad matchup for the Mavericks. Not a good team, not a bad team. 8 of their 10 losses are against good teams that I would call. Denver twice, Milwaukee, Minnesota, OKC, Sacramento, the Clippers, and the Pelicans. And so I want to break that down, see what the Mavericks can do, and then talk about, see if they can fix any of that kind of stuff, because I just wanted to deep dive into those, see if there's any trends. But I want to start with, is this Luka's best start to his season? Because we've seen some crazy stuff from Luka. And I want to preface all of this. I have been very sick today. And so if I make no sense today, comment below what you talking about. just do that. If I ever make no sense in this, let me know in the comment section. Let me know on Twitter, on X, whatever. Let me know. I think I'm going to make sense today, but there's a chance that I may not. So here we go. Here's my best start. Luka Doncic off to one of the best starts to his season and just having an incredible last couple of weeks right here. He was named Player of the Week in the NBA. This is his stats since he has become a father, which I think has been kind of a turning point. 36.5 points, 9 rebounds, 11.5 assists. He's shooting 49, 38, 82%. That's field goals, 3-point percentage, and free throw percentage. Since becoming a dad in the 8 games, Luka has been incredible. Now, he's had to play more minutes because Kyrie has been out. They've been playing against some bad teams in that stretch a little bit here and there, but still just an incredible stretch to Luka's career right now. It's been awesome to watch. It's been awesome to see what he's been doing. The thing that I think has really stood out, though, we've talked about this several times, and I don't get tired of talking about it, is his leadership. His leadership has taken another level. We've complained more, I think, on this show about him not getting respect from the refs or respect from, certain things that happen. Like, he got the other night, he got hit in the face. I feel like we have complained more about this on his show than he has. I think he has really taken a step up when it comes to leadership in that regard. I think he's taken a step up in leadership when it comes to players around him, the players that he is trying to elevate. You've seen him get excited for guys like Dante Exum. You've seen him get excited for guys like Derek Lively and to Derek Jones Jr. You've seen him get real pumped about those guys and wanting to take it the next step. He's also taken another step forward in terms of his conditioning. He's playing a ton of minutes right now. His minutes are kind of insane, the amount of minutes that Luka is playing so far, or at least the last stretch here. Just in this last, let's go back to since that OKC game. So basically this 8-game stretch since he's become a dad, he's played 46, 32, 41, 44, 43, 39, 37, and 36. And 2 of those 31s were in losses where they just got destroyed. So in some of these wins that the Mavs are having to pull out, even against bad teams, he's playing a ton of minutes. But his conditioning and his body work, everything that he's done, I feel like has really taken that next step. He's hired I guess you call it a trainer. What did they officially call it? I want to go back and look at the report. He hired a director of health and performance. That's what they're calling it. It's a director of health and performance just for Luka. He hired this person. That's a person that worked with him at Real Madrid. And he also hired the full strength and conditioning coach. It's somebody that we've come to know as Mavs fans when we watched Luka with the Slovenian national team. This same guy is now working with Luka on the Mavericks and traveling with them and working on Luka's strength and conditioning full time. He also has hired a personal nutritionist. He hired all three of these people to try and, take this next step in his career. And this is the step we've wanted him to see. And we wanted to see it. And man, he's having an incredible start. But is it the best start to his career so far? The Mavs are 16-9. You got to take team record into it, I think. Last year, this is Luka's first 25 games. This took me a while to put together to figure out what their record was in Luka's first 25, not just the team's first 25 games. This year, they've been 16-9. Year before, so 2022-23, they were 14-11. They were 16-9 the year before that. That's the 21-22 season. 12-13 in the 2020-2021 season. And then they were 17-8. That's the best technical record start. That was his second year, 19-20. And then they were 14-11 his rookie year in Luka's first 25 games. So this is not technically the best record start of his career. That has to go back to his second year. This year, he's averaging just about 33 points. It's about the same as it was last season. Definitely the two best, scoring-wise, scoring numbers-wise, seasons he's had so far into his first 25 games. And then he's had about 8.5 rebounds. That's about on par. His second year in his first 25 games, he averaged 9.6 rebounds a game, which is kind of wild. But he's, basically on par. This year, though, 9.1 assists, the second highest mark in his first 25 games so far in his career. So he's putting up a ton of stats, some of the best stats we've seen from him, but it's not like leaps and bounds better than what he's been before. Luka's put up some crazy stats. Just think about some of the things that we've seen from Luka. The difference between, I think, what Luka is doing now and maybe why it looks a little different. So 33 points a game he's averaging right now, same as last season. So there's two best scoring starts to a season in his career. This year so far, 23 field goal attempts, 10 three-point attempts per game, and 8 free throw attempts. Last year, the year before, it was basically switched. He averaged 8 3 points a game and 10 free throw attempts per game. So he's getting less free throw attempts this season, taking more three-point shots this season, and he's hitting more three-point shots. That's the thing that has been very different for him to start this season. He's hitting the three-point shots. And that's been just a huge development so far this season. His 3-point and his free throw percentage are both up, and both career highs. Yeah, both career highs so far for Luka. He's shooting more efficiently. He's getting his shots better. You can tell that he's just grown in certain areas on how to get his shot and how to create space, and it just is all coming together for him at this point. So, is this the best start to his career? Yes, I think it is. I think this is the best 25-game start that we've seen from him so far. We haven't seen him miss any games with injury so far. He's only missed the one game due to the birth of his child. And we've seen him, play deep into games and still have it late in games. And the Mavericks are, playing really well in the clutch so far this season. It's just his shooting efficiency going up has just been such a big thing for the Mavericks offense, and for him in general and just with his game. So to answer my question, yes, I think this is the best start to his season so far. Let me know in the comments if you disagree that it's the best start to his season so far. I'm curious if anybody has anything different to say right now, but the Mavericks are playing really well, 9-2 in clutch games. And they're just, they're playing some pretty good basketball when Luka is out there and he has some help. And so let's talk about that. Why have the Mavericks not been able to beat good teams at time? I'm curious what you think about that. I'm curious how, let's break down some of these games. I really wanted to deep dive into it and see why they're not beating good teams. I'll explain why coming up. Today's episode brought to you by eBay Motors. eBay Motors has the parts for your car, and they know that every part needs to be the right fit. That's why they partnered up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're prepping for a daily draft or scouring the waiver wire, every week they're going to provide Josh is going to provide players that'll fit on your roster with eBay's guaranteed fit fantasy picks of the week. All right, we talked about Grayson Allen the day before. Let's talk about Tari Eason. That's a player I've really liked, and the Mavericks could really use a guy like Tari Eason. Josh says Tari Eason's still coming off the bench, but it doesn't really matter as Ime Udoka has found minutes for him. He is a strong fantasy value per minute option who becomes useful to everybody as these minutes tick up. I think that he'll eventually find more time in the Rockets lineup because of his defense and how good he's been. I just think that's a player you can look for in fantasy. And just like Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is here to help you with your championship team, for your fantasy team, your championship run for your fantasy team. eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. So check out eBay Motors and see what you need for your car. They have all the kind of stuff. 122 million parts that you can pick from your car. That's an insane amount. Just think about wipers, roof rack, bumpers, whatever your car needs, eBay Motors has it. And with the guaranteed fit, you know that it's guaranteed to fit your car the first time, every time, or your money back. Again, go to eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Keep your ride or die alive at eBay Motors.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is?
All right, everybody, thanks for hanging out with me on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. If you want to support the show, get texts from me, ask questions, get content during games, after games, all that kind of stuff, exclusive video content. Subscribe to our subtext. Click the link in the description or text the number. You'll be subscribed to it. You can try it for free, and if you try it for free and you like it, then subscribe, and it helps support the show. And I do more. The more people I get on there, the more stuff I'll do, right? Like, that's ROI. That's how it works. Okay, let's talk about the Mavericks. Why can't they beat good teams? Here's the breakdown for the Mavericks so far. 16 wins, 10 losses. Feeling pretty good. The wins, 5 of them I would say would be good wins right now. Orlando, the Lakers twice, the Clippers, and the Pelicans. I would say those are all good wins now. If you look at the standings, look at where these teams are. These are teams above 500. The Pelicans are 5 games above 500. Clippers are the same record as the Mavericks right now, so you've got to count it as a good win at this point, even though they went through that weird losing streak. Orlando is playing really well at 16-9, even though they've had a couple losses recently. And the Lakers twice. Even though the Lakers are 15-12, I still consider both of those good wins for the Mavs. They've had 2 solid wins, Brooklyn and Houston, that are just like, all right, beat teams. Those teams are hovering around 500, so 2 solid wins. And then they've had 9 business wins. I'm going to call them business wins. Washington, Utah, Portland twice, Memphis twice, Charlotte, the Spurs, and then I'll put the Bulls in there as well as like took care of business, made sure that they won. So 5 good wins, 2 solid wins, and 9 business wins. You look at the losses side of it. Like I said earlier, they've had 1 bad loss, the Memphis game. That was the one without Luka where Kyrie played and they just didn't get it done. That's a really bad loss. Even without Luka, it's still a bad loss. 1 matchup loss, the Toronto Raptors. Lively didn't play that game, but you still, if Luka and Kyrie can't beat the Raptors at home, that was brutal. 8 losses against good teams. Denver twice, Milwaukee, Minnesota, OKC, Sacramento, the Clippers, and the Pelicans. Losses to good teams. So, what has happened? Why can the Mavericks not beat these good teams? I went through and I wanted to break it down. And let's just break it down I almost said bionically. What's the phrase for like, look at it in 2 different, I'm just looking at 2 different categories right now. Did the offense fail them or did the defense fail them? Biometrically? What's the phrase? This is where I would ask Isaac if he was here. What's this word? He would have no idea, and then we would just keep going on. So they've had 4 games where their offense has stalled out, where just they have terrible offensive rating, can't get it done. It's just like that offensive rating is just not going to get it done ever. That was the Pelicans game. Remember, they just got destroyed in that game, the second one after they won the first one. The Clippers game, they scored 88 points, just a brutal outing. And then the recent Timberwolves game and this last Nuggets game, their offense completely stalled out. 2 of those games, the Clippers and the Timberwolves, the Mavs shot like 22% from 3. 9 of 38 from 3 in the Clippers game, 7 of 32 from 3 in the Timberwolves game. You can maybe shrug and just say it was because they didn't make threes. You make threes, maybe you beat those teams. I think in the Clippers case, it was probably a little bit more than that. In the Timberwolves case, I think you can make a case. The Mavs lose that game by what did they lose by? I guess they lost by 18. Still, either way, they missed a ton of threes. It's a huge, crucial part of their offense. And so if they miss a bunch of threes, maybe you can just chalk it up to, well, they missed a ton of threes. So 4 games where the Mavs offense has stalled out. Okay. These are all against what I call good teams. There have been 6 games where the defense has completely broken down. The 2 Nuggets games they've played so far, the Pelicans game I mentioned before, The Bucks game where the Mavs came down to the wire. It was a clutch game. They could have won that. They had a chance, didn't end up pulling it out. The Kings game, that was the second night of a travel back-to-back, the very next night after that Bucks game. So that one maybe you can chalk up to, shrug your shoulders and say it was a travel back-to-back. Teams don't win those very often. It's like 40% or something like that. And then the Thunder game, the defense just completely broke down. That's when the Mavericks had to go on that 30-0 run just to get back in the game and still didn't win it. So you've had 6 games where the defense completely bottoms out, where their defensive rating is like 122 points allowed per 100 possessions or worse. 2 of those games that I just mentioned, both things happened. The Pelicans game and this recent Nuggets game, both the offense stalled out and the defense stalled out. Those are what Slightly calls toilet games. And maybe you throw in the Timberwolves game in that one, and then also the Clippers game that they lost when they scored 88 points because they had a pretty below average defense. It wasn't completely bottoming out. Like, I didn't completely count that. So you've had 4 games essentially where their offense and defense just failed them. Maybe those are toilet games. You flush them and you move on. Teams have those. Every team has those. Every single team in the league. Even the Celtics. The Celtics will have a loss. The Celtics are 20-5 as I'm recording this before the night's games on Tuesday. The Celtics lost to the Sixers, the Timberwolves, the Hornets in overtime, Orlando, and Indiana. Like, not even the Hornets one is bad, but not even like the worst losses. And their fans will still come on to whatever platform and comment, "Oh, everything's falling apart." Like, they just, this team can't win. Well, happens to every fan base. So, but the Mavericks have had 4 of these games so far where everything is just broken down and it hasn't worked. So maybe you throw those games out. That still is 4 losses against teams where what happened? Well, in the other 4, the defense broke down. So I think the reason why the Mavericks can't beat good teams, if I just look through this all kind of objectively, try to just look at offense, defense, what's happening, the Mavs defense is failing them. Amazing, incredible conclusion that I have made, deep diving into all these losses, trying to figure out through numbers and through my, what I've seen watching all of these games, being there for some of them in person, just all that. Just what an incredible conclusion I have come to, that the Mavericks defense is failing them. It's more about the defense failing them in that they can't just hold the fort. They can't just... hold the fort? That can't be a good phrase. Maybe I shouldn't use that one anymore. They can't just hold, like, keep the dam, like they can't just keep the dam from breaking, basically, right? Like, they just get cracks in the defense and a crack will happen, whether it's transition defense, the half court defense, something will happen. And then all of a sudden the dam breaks and the Mavs just bottom out on defense. It's happened 6 times so far this season where their defense just completely bottomed out against good teams. They can't defend against these good teams, and I think that's something that they're really struggling with so far. So how do they fix that? What else have we seen in some of these games? There's been injuries in some of them. How have injuries affected some of these? Let's talk about all that and how the Mavericks can fix some of these awful, awful losses coming up. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Game Time has all kinds of tickets for you. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets for your next big event. Game Time has you covered with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Go to gametime.co. I do it every time I do one of these, and I start thinking about things that I want to do. The 21st, when is that? Thursday? Canucks versus the Stars at the American Airlines. The Mavericks have a game that day? They do, of course. Well, no, they don't. Thursday. No, they don't. Man, that's a game I may want to go to on Thursday. You can go and get some. There's $30. You can get tickets right now to go see the Stars and see them play at the American Airlines Center. And you know that you're going to get a guarantee with the Game Time app, gametime.co, or download the app. Again, Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem your code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Isaac, let's get back into these Mavs losses. Earlier, I made the stunning, incredible insanely insightful conclusion that the Mavericks defense is failing them. It's true. Their defense is failing them with how it completely bottoms out at times. And so that's the one conclusion I've come to going through and deep diving some of these losses is that they need to figure out how to make sure the dam doesn't break. And with the Mavericks defense, you have to have everybody involved. Everybody has to be working together. When the Mavericks have had good defensive moments, think back to, I'm just going to keep going back to that OKC run. Everybody's flying around. Everybody's connected. Everybody is talking together. And I think some of this will come with chemistry and with working together and with making sure that everybody knows where they're supposed to be and effort. I'm going to believe Jason Kidd and Luka and Tim Hardaway and Kyrie and Maxey and everybody that has told me it's effort. Our defense relies on effort. And so when they're shorthanded in some of these losses, and 4 of the Mavs' 8 losses against good teams, the ones that I was referencing earlier, they were without either Kyrie or Derek Lively. In the Nuggets game, they were without both, the one that they just played. Lively also was out for the Clippers game that they lost. They had their offense stalled out and their defense was fairly below average, so that's a sign. Kyrie and Tim and Exum were out for the Thunder game, notable. That one, the defense just broke down. Although Kyrie and Tim, I don't know if they contribute that much to the defense, but you can take what you want from that. And then against the Timberwolves, Kyrie was also out and the offense stalled. They've had 2 games where the offense completely stalled out that Kyrie wasn't there for. The Nuggets and the Timberwolves, the ones that they just had this week. Luka has this huge workload on him, needs one more player to step up and to score, and they didn't get it. And Kyrie's supposed to be that guy. Maybe you just look at that and say the Mavs' strength is their offense. And these 2 games that they just played against good teams, Minnesota and Denver, their offense stalled out. That's not going to happen if Kyrie Irving is there, right? You can't imagine that it would. It only happened in the Clippers game and the Pelicans game where Kyrie was there and their offense stalled out. Cut it in half. So maybe they win one of those 2 games. Maybe they win the Nuggets or the Timberwolves game if Kyrie is there based on that. If you just look at the difference between when the Mavs lose when their offense stalls out or they lose when it's just their defense that fails them. They have to rely on their offense. It's just how the team is made up. But defensively, they've got to figure out how to not let the dam completely break and all that. How can they do it? Keep Lively healthy. That's part of it. Although Lively has been part of a couple of games where the defense did completely break down. The Thunder game, he played in that one. The defense broke down. He played in the Kings, the Bucks, the Pelicans, and the Nuggets games. But those were 4 of the early losses in November. And we've talked about Lively, and one of the things that he's really, really good at is learning and going forward. Taking something from one game, he plays Memphis the first time. Jaren Jackson Jr. drives on him 3 times. He fouls him all 3 times. The next time they play, Jaren Jackson Jr. tries to drive. Derek Lively defends him really well. He learns. And so maybe this is a trend that we're seeing where if Derek Lively is involved, the defense isn't going to break down as easily against good teams. Because it's, since the beginning of the season, those games have been cut in half, basically. Now I'm starting to wonder if I'm making sense. Did that last thing make any sense? Let me know in the comment section. Another thing with the Mavs defense is opponents' 3-point percentage. This season, NBA teams are 51 and 116 when their opponents shoot 42.5% or higher. That's a very specific number. I picked it for a reason. 51 and 116. They just get destroyed for the most part when opponents shoot 42.5%. That was actually lower. That was actually a higher winning percentage than it has been in the past, which is kind of wild. In the past, like 2 years ago, teams only won like 20%. And then last year, it was like 23% when their opponent shot 42.5% from 3 or higher. This season, in these 8 losses that I've been talking about, the ones against good teams, their opponent shot 42.5% from 3 in both Nuggets games, the Kings game, the Thunder game, and the Timberwolves game. You look at the Timberwolves game. The Mavs shot 22%. The Timberwolves shot 45% from three. And Kyrie was out. And you can kind of just look at that game and go, wipe your hands and be like, hey, that's terrible luck. One of those things three of those things don't happen, right? Kyrie does miss games, but if Kyrie stays in the game and then the Mavericks hit a decent amount, not even their season average, just slightly below their season average from three, and the Timberwolves shoot just barely above their season average from three, the Mavs win that game. Sometimes just math, especially when the Mavericks live and die by the three so much, right? And so you can go in and say, all right, let's change our whole offense. Let's get some guys that can create the mid-range shots and post shots, and they're trying to develop some of that. You see Grant Williams trying to do that. You see Derrick Jones Jr. trying to drive to the basket. You see Exum starting to be a guy that drives to the rim and gets stuff done. You see Lively trying to post up. Luka has definitely been killing it in the mid-range. Kyrie's trying to add the mid-range to the Mavericks offense. Like, there's guys that are trying to do those kind of things. But the Mavericks are not going to be one of these, like, motion, everybody cut. Exum has started to add some cuts to the rim, too. Kyrie will cut to the rim as well. That's been a big help. But they're not about to be the Warriors, where they just move all around and then they find guys cutting to the rim, create all this. Like, they're just not that team. They're still going to be the 5-out or 4-out and 1 pick and roll guy. Luka has the ball. Kyrie has the ball. They create something, create a ton of open threes. And they've won a bunch of games doing that. But you look at some of these and you look at some of the reasons why they lost some of these games to good teams, and some of them are good reasons. Second night of a travel back-to-back against the Kings, and then the Kings also hit 17 threes on 42.5%. You're not going to win that game. Which teams in the NBA win that game, right? You look at some of these other games. The Nuggets game the other night, the offense stalled out, the defense broke down, and the Nuggets shoot 54% from three. There's just a math problem going against you in that equation. I don't think it's changing who plays. I think Jason Kidd has done a fine job with who plays and what minutes and all that. Like, there's not somebody, I'm not sitting there. It's maybe one of the first times in a season where I'm like, I'm not sitting here going, somebody's got to play more. They've got to play Curry more. They've got to play Hardy more. I think he's pulling the right lever so far. The Exum one was one early that I wanted him to play more, and he's started to. I want him to play Omax more for the long-term development. I'm not really thinking about the short-term development. And I know some of you are going to say, what about Rashawn Holmes? I don't think he's fixing some of these things that you guys or that we're pointing out here with some of these losses. So let me know what you think about the Mavs losses. Why are they losing to good teams? Do you think this is the best start to Luka's career? I appreciate everybody for sticking with me all the way through to the end. You're a real part of the Raccoon Squad. Tomorrow or Wednesday night, I'll be at the Clippers game. Hopefully, I'll definitely feel better by then. I've been improving the last 2 days. I'll be at the Clippers game. I've got stickers. I just ordered a whole bunch. Look at this pack. I got 500 more stickers because you know why? I ordered 300 of them the first time, and I gave them all out. That's crazy. Over the course of like almost a year, I gave them all out to you guys. That's wild. Come see me at section 123 at a Mavs game. Appreciate you guys. Guys, thanks for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.